Okay, it seems like we are live. That is what everyone is telling me. By everyone, I mean all the buttons on the screen that are red that says live recording.
Mhm.
For everyone that is here, welcome to another. We don't have a great name for this yet, but the gist is just a great marketing chat for 20 minutes so it doesn't interrupt your day. Think of it as like imagine you were taking a break in the hallway, wanting to talk to a friend at work back in the day when remote work wasn't a thing, and you were having a good conversation on a topic that meant something to you either for future work or for some strategy or for some intellectual curiosity. And that is what we're looking to bring here every week. It is just one topic, it's just 20 minutes. And it is not us talking from a place of campaigns that we've run, into us talking from a place of experience through different experts on different topics. Last week, we had the privilege of talking about building your own creator roster. Today, we are shifting gears a little bit and looking almost at like the expansive universe of creator content, because I think it's a very sexy thing to do, work with creators, run some influencer marketing. You get some really cool content out of it. Depending again on how you work the system and who you work with, you can get a piece of content that can be extremely impactful. But can it go beyond social? Can it go email, digital? Can it go out of home billboards? Can it go in flight entertainment and movies? And so today we have our product marketing manager, who I would say has probably some of the best knowledge on this at hashtag paid, here with us, Olivia Harris. Liv, welcome to the show.
Thank you. What an intro. We're workshopping our intro tune, so we'll hit you all with that next week. But
Yeah, yeah,
grateful.
that is something that is going to stay behind closed doors for a while until we can find someone who's got a better voice than our shower voices to do so. But thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, something exciting, good retention
Yeah,
strategy for
yeah,
future
yeah.
weeks. Let's do this. I think how I like to always start these off is we have the topic of how to best use creator culture throughout, not creator culture, should I say creator content throughout the marketing mix. And that goes beyond social. But let's start at a high level and then slowly walk down. So the thing I want to start out with is this. Like, how do you see brands using creator content
Mhm.
across the marketing mix 2023, July 13th?
I think there's kind of like two parts to that question. I feel like there's how does it exist now, and then kind of like where do I see it going, or where do we see it like in the creator economy, where do we see this going? I think as it stands right now, I'd say like most brands are not doing this. And if they're doing it, they're not doing it well. So when I think about it, like even if you were to kind of like rack your brain, like the last time you saw maybe a billboard ad or a TV ad, creators don't come up. And if you can think of examples, it's often like celebrities or mega creators. And I think that that's going to shift. So I think that's kind of where the creator economy or the world of marketing kind of lives right now. But I think in 2023 and beyond, we're really going to start to see creator content everywhere. And, it might be like, you're riding the subway and there's creator content above you on a billboard. Maybe it's, still on your phone in other ways and through programmatic ads, maybe on a plane, in a cinema, like really like the opportunities are endless. But it's kind of connecting the dots for marketers to really get there.
Mm. So what I'm hearing is creator content more or less stays on social media. What I'm also hearing is there is this opportunity to go beyond social media, obviously certain
Mhm.
types of content, maybe certain types of creators. And I hear you that we've seen some spectacle with major creators, but to your point, that's almost seen as like celebrity endorsement marketing and not so much just creator content that was
Yeah.
created, whether brand direct or through a campaign that was then extrapolated beyond. The question then comes to my mind is, why don't brands think about using creator content
Mhm.
beyond social? Like, you brought up a good point, and again, still nascent industry, only 10 years, but why is it, or what is limiting marketers from thinking this?
Yeah, I love that question. I think it's a few things. I think the first is like most marketers or brands just don't know that it's possible. Like, I think we're like creatures of habit, right? And until we start seeing creators on billboards or in a subway ad, we're not thinking about doing that. So I think like right now, folks that are doing that, they're really ahead of the curve. So I think that's one thing that people aren't really thinking about it or don't know how to do it or that they can do it. Um, and then kind of the second thing I think, which is a major blocker for a lot of marketers or marketing teams, is like general workflow. So even if they want to take a piece of creator content and maybe put it in a TV ad or in programmatic, um, where do they turn to? How do they find that content and figure out, does it have rights? If it doesn't, now we have to go to the creator and draft up like a contract. And if it's, 3 months of terms, now we're managing these terms and how do we get notified? It's just like this really long-winded process. And it's just very convoluted. And then I think there's also like when you look at large organizations, take like a Sephora or a Walmart, when you're looking at the marketing teams, it's not just one function, right? You've got, your influencer marketing team, maybe you have a social media team, maybe you're working with an agency, or you've got an out-of-home marketing team. And so all of these different teams are owning different things and they're not working together. So the out of home team may not think about using creator content, um, but they can. And these silos are kind of creating that kind of like separation and making it really hard for those teams to activate creator content in those channels. So I think those silos play a big role in this as well. And then I think kind of like the third thing is money. Like thinking about putting a creator up on a billboard seems like a ridiculously expensive thing to do. But if you're a car brand, for example, who wants to put content in a cinema, you're going to go to an agency and pay a lot of money to get high quality content filmed and curated versus taking that to a creator and having their expertise, and sometimes that's often a lower cost, and then taking that content and putting it in the cinema. So same workflow, but often the creator route can actually be more cost effective, and you can take that content and simply purchase the rights and put it in a bunch of different placements or channels. So I think changing like the mindset around the cost for rights will be a huge part of this movement that we'll start to see.
What you're talking about there, it reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend yesterday, and we always see this cycle. We see this like new, exciting innovation, this hype around something, and everyone's just going towards the sexy thing.
Mhm.
And then the sexy thing starts to normalize and become just a thing that happens. But then it's like, oh, wait, we need systems to make sure that this sexy thing keeps happening. And then there's so much value in the unsexy, like in the process and in the workflow and optimization and ops. And I think that's where you're coming from. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Like the creator space, influencer marketing has really just been 10 years. And from those 10 years, it's been sexy to work with creators and there's some cool stuff that's happening. And now to your point about siloing teams, like the social media team isn't really as siloed as it used to be. Like social is just another part that surrounds other marketing channels or media buying channels. And so I think to your point, which I think is a really astute point of like, it's there, it's available, but there needs to be something underlying it so
Mhm.
that process can be possible. And to your point, you can show people not only look how cool it is, but look how feasible it is as well.
Yeah, I think like thinking about it from like a holistic lens, right? I feel like we're kind of like looking at things with like a sliver of the pie. Um, but like really we can work together and create like a more strategic marketing strategy or plan if we as like a marketing function or department in large enterprises kind of work together to do that. I think it would be a lot more efficient.
Shout out efficiency. Um, Tell me something. You touched on something that I keep hearing a lot, but I actually don't know that much about. You talked on rights. You're like teams need rights in order to take content and go above, and who knows how much money that is and what the workflow is. Can you just what do you mean by what do you mean
What is
by
it?
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in like really, really simple terms, essentially it's um, allows a brand to purchase the usage rights, so pay to use a creator's content in other channels. So traditionally, you would do this by, working with a creator, paying them to post organically through their channel. And now, kind of brands are toying with the idea that we can actually use this content elsewhere, and so you pretty much tack on the cost of rights, where we would pay the creator to use their content, whether it's a video ad in a cinema or photo content on a billboard. And then it's bound to 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and those terms can be flexible, but paying the creator to use their content elsewhere.
Got you. So it goes along with what you're talking about with workflow, is like, how do you know how much to charge, or do you go for it? Got you. Okay, let's take that big conversation idea and get, for everyone here, can you come with an example that you can think of a brand that has done this well, and like what went through your mind when either you were studying this case study, watching this type of content, saw this on the street, for example, if it is, for example, an out-of-home ad? What comes to mind when you think of successful case study?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think I'll first start by saying I think the most valuable thing about having creator content used across your marketing mix is that, like, we know this is a fact, that creator content it's more relatable, it's more credible, it's more authentic. There's data to back that. Anywhere you look on the internet, we've proven that it's like, at least 2 times more credible, authentic, and relatable. And so I guess I would question marketers, why aren't we using this content across all of our channels? And a great example of this, we were chatting with a marketer recently, and we were talking about usage rights and chatting about billboards. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah! Last week I was in Dundas Square and I saw the Birds Papaya, who's a creator many people are familiar with, on a billboard ad for Reitmans. So cool!" And it was such a simple example, but I think it's a perfect example, because really the goal of marketing is to catch attention, right? And so by using creators across, a variety of different channels, you're catching your target audience's eyes, and then they're associating that with the brand and watching, whether it's a video or maybe it's, static content, whatever it is. It's easier to catch their attention, and then there's, like, an emotional connection. There's trust that's already built there, and so whatever the message is or the story that they're trying to convey as a brand, it resonates a lot better with the audience. And so, that was just a very simple example, and I think there's gonna be a lot more of that in the future.
Yeah, I hear you on the idea of, one, like catching, stopping, like stopping attention, or stopping someone's action because of such attention, whether that's name, image, likeness of someone
Mhm.
like Sarah Bird Papaya, or as you were talking about earlier with, well, maybe if it's a car ad and there's certain quality that they go for, but like, I know we have there's a creator that works with hashtag paid a lot, Alan Palander,
Mhm.
and he's done this phenomenally with Infinity and a bunch of these other brands that he works with, that it looks super high quality. So it doesn't, no one's going to think, oh, this wasn't done with such intention and mindset and skill set. And I think someone on our team said that they saw it on like on a plane when they were flying to wherever. It was one of the ads that's shown throughout the flight, which is really, really cool.
Mhm.
So, okay, we talked how to think about it. We talked what are the negative sides. We've talked why is it valuable, the examples, and then kind of pivoted a little bit on the idea of rights. If
Mhm.
you were giving advice to a marketer today,
Mhm.
marketer comes to you and goes, cool, how can we as a brand do this today? Or how do we think about this
Mhm.
today?
Yeah.
What's the answer? How do you approach that?
Yeah, I think, like, it's kind of funny. I feel like a lot of, marketing teams or brands are kind of already doing this, or, like, they're halfway there. They just kinda have to take it to the finish line. And so, you can think of any organization, most of them are already doing influencer creator marketing, at least in the organic feed, and many are doing like, paid boosting. But I think what marketers can do today is think about how they can either repurpose that content that they're, generating with creators, and think about how they can use that in other channels. Because the content is kind of the hardest part, right? Once the content is created, um, paying for the rights to use it becomes like the easy part. So I think that a lot of brands, it's kind of an easy unlock for them. Um, and then on the flip side, I do think there's value in, thinking about these other placement types strategically before partnering with these creators. So, for example, if you want to run, billboard ads, or maybe you really want to focus on an airport and you want to do, out of home ads in the airport, on the plane, you can think about these placement types and then work with a creator that makes a lot of sense to place in that airport. And you can think about the placement asset ratios. So it's more strategic, where you can think about those things up front and then work with a creator to build kind of like that strategy or even customer journey more thoroughly. And one call that I want to make, because I think it's a really unique value prop for usage rights, but we can actually localize content by doing this. And I think like the Birds Papaya example, or even Alan Palander example, like both of those are great, great examples of like tapping into your city and a creator's likeness within that city. I think there's so much opportunity there. Like when you think of that same ad, but with just a generic model, it doesn't have any impact. But when you're tapping into, maybe it is the airport example, and you're using a local creator, and you're bringing that target audience or your user along the journey with someone who's familiar and recognized within your city. I think that's such a cool opportunity, and it's easy to do that at scale. So if you're a company that has products across North America, you can do that in Toronto, you can do that in New York, you can do that in LA, but at scale. Like you're not stopped by anything. So I think that's such a cool opportunity for a lot of marketers.
I like that call out. That one, look at your locale and look at those that have name, image, likeness within the city to really resonate with the city, compared to a nationwide campaign with a couple creators where, to your point, maybe their face doesn't, maybe who they are doesn't mean anything. I think that's such a good call out. And I guess that goes back to early days influencer marketing, is there was a face that was recognizable that then could further connect that person to the brand, and then hopefully later on in life get them to purchase something. So I think that's such a good call out. And then the second thing you said, which also is really interesting, is almost flipping the script. Like a lot of people go, okay, we're going to use influencers, or we're going to work with creators for influencer marketing as like 5% of our marketing spend X. It's not, but to your, or it's not the way you're thinking about it, which I think is really astute, which is what do we need? We need X. Okay, how do we then approach the conversation with certain creators to say, well, maybe we're not looking at you in terms of your distribution, but we want your style. We want like to fuse our brand values and messaging with what you do, which I think is amazing. So those are two really, really quality call outs. The one thing I wanted to ask, I know we're at I think 119, so we have like 1 or 2 minutes left, but when we were talking about this last week, you brought up something that I don't think many marketers think about because it's from the creator side. You talked about something related to like
Mm.
the unknown opportunity when working with creators going beyond social, especially on billboards out of home. Can you remind what was that talk track?
Yeah, I think, like, I mean, from the brand's perspective, we don't think of this often from the lens of a creator, but it's a huge opportunity for a creator, and like we had chatted about, like it's a career defining moment for them. A great example of this, Spencer Barbosa, who's got like a few million followers, and she's recently partnered with like Ardennes for her own clothing line. Like she's really growing as a creator. One of her goals for the near future in her career as a creator is to get on a billboard. So it's kind of funny when I was watching that story, it kind of like reminded me that like, oh yeah, this is like a huge moment for a creator as well. Like to get a TV ad or be on a billboard or in the movie theaters, like it's a wild experience for them. And I think, yeah, a career defining moment for them. So I think, obviously we're in the business of mutual beneficial relationships here, but it's a cool call out for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, to your point, bunch of earned media. You put a creator up on a billboard, which really benefits your brand in terms of the content and the image and the values that's shared and that's projected. But you're going to get a creator to be like, holy shit, like, look at me. Like, hey, everyone, look at all my followers. Look, I'm transcending social media. I'm actually becoming something more than just this creator in the social media vacuum. Such a
Yeah.
good point. Liv, thank you so much for joining us. It is 1:20 where both of us are. Who knows where it is in the rest of the world for everyone else. Guys, thank you for joining. Liv, such good perspective on how to view creator content beyond social media, how to think about it, why we should be thinking about it, maybe some of the blockers, how to get over them, and then this like really cool nugget of look at it from the creator side in terms of maybe some extra earned media value. Next week, again, same time, Wednesdays, 1 p.m. for 20 minutes. Next week's topic, we're talking about building long-term relationships with creators and why that's so valuable and how you can do so where we're in a world where it might seem like short-term metrics, but if you can build that long-term partnership, I think there is a lot of earned media value opportunity that a lot of brands don't see by just thinking short term. So anyway, we're coming to you with that topic next Wednesday. But for right now, have a great rest of the day. Thank you for tuning in, and Liv, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. This was lots of fun. Looking forward to next week.
Do it again soon. Take it easy, guys.